Hi there, happy Tuesday. Today we are going to talk about confidence, control, and I'm going to give you a beautiful, tangible, measurable, powerful exercise that can help you feel in more control of your life and therefore more confident. So, when people meet me and hear that I'm a confidence coach, they often ask me, like, what brought you to that? Like, you are, it's obvious, we can see it, but like, how did you get to coaching this or whatever? And the assumption is that I've always been confident. And that could not be further from the truth. Oh, that could not be further from the truth, right? So, for the majority of my life, like the first half or so of my, more than half of my life, it is absolutely true where I mean, I did feel like a victim. Like I did feel like the decisions by others were affecting me in negative ways. I had very little control over the outcomes in my life. I had very little control over, my own decisions and where I ended up and all of these things. And, you know, some of you may be out there and feeling that same way. And so my heart goes out to you because it's a hard place to live in this idea that we don't have control over our lives, but instead the decisions of others are what control our life experience. And so I just want to say, if you're feeling that way, just know that I've been there and I know how hard it is. The drudge of living in that way is just so difficult. And so I just want to give you hope that you don't have to stay there if you don't want to. There are things that can be done to help you feel more empowered, more in control, regardless of your situation, right? But I also want to say that, at least, so my personal story around this is my life started off very, very young, where I legitimately was a victim of many things as a small child, right? So this learning that, excuse me, everyone controls me, it wasn't just something I made up. Like the reality was, I was sexually abused and gaslighting was used to make sure that I didn't, get anybody in trouble or whatever. There was emotional abuse, there was physical abuse, there again, sexual abuse in all different ways. And so like I learned the lesson. I learned from a very young age that no matter what I did or who I was, that terrible things were going to happen to me and that I didn't have any power and that it wasn't in my control. There were these people that were more powerful than me, more influential, older, stronger, all of those things that did in fact do harmful things to me, of which I was too young to do anything about. I was a genuine victim. And I suspect for many of you that feel this way, even in adulthood, you may have had a similar start. And then couple that with a society that was also very, external locus of control, that, the outside world affects us. We're just here, we're just living the life God gave us and can't do anything about it type of thing. So that combination of living in a society that was heavily an external locus of control and then combining it with real life experiences when I really, really was unable to fight back or unable to make any decisions to make myself safe. Of course I felt this way. Like, is there any other way to believe? Right? And so it took me a really, really long time to slowly crawl, out of that hole and get to the place where I can recognize my power. I can recognize where my choices are. I'm not that little kid anymore, and I am an adult, and so I do have more power now. And learning how to switch that locus of control thing, that whole thing from, like I have zero control, not going to 100% control, because that's not true either. And I did kind of swing all the way the other way there for a while, which then in turn turned into blame and shame for myself because it's all my fault, right? So finding that middle ground of confidence and control and being able to see when it is in fact that things are outside of my control. What elements of that can I still feel in control? All of those things are just super important, right? And that is how we switch, is the recognition of what is actually in front of us. So I promise you a tangible, measurable exercise. This is the first exercise I've ever done that I'm telling you, for me, it was magic of being able to flip that switch of being, external locus of control to finding my power, finding where my control is, and then being able to take control of it. Excuse my squeaky leather chair here. So here's what it is. It's the first step in any growth. You've heard me say it before, and you'll hear me say it again, is awareness creates choice. We cannot travel somewhere until we know where we are first. The GPS in your car needs to know where you are so it knows if it tells you to turn right or left, right? We can't go somewhere unless we know where we currently are so that we know how to get there. And that is no different when it comes to mental and emotional work. That's just the way it is. And this, for many people, is the hardest part, because let's face it, if we've been so used to keeping that attention out there, other people, what are you doing? What are you thinking? How do I please you? How do I make sure I don't get hurt? How do I stay safe to make sure you're taken care of, when our focus is constantly out? It can be really hard to see what's already here for yourself without anybody else's influence, or even just really uncomfortable, or it might even feel selfish to take some time to focus on yourself. But I'm telling you, the most gracious, empathetic, kind thing you could do for the rest of the world is to get to know yourself better, is to take some time with yourself and get to know yourself better, so you know where your starting point is, so that you know where to go, so that you know what is in your power and what is not. So here it is. Here's the exercise. And I'm telling you, it may sound like it's not relevant. It may sound a little weird or silly or whatever, but I'm telling you, the way I did it, I'll just share the way I did it, and you could play with however you want to experience this if you want to. But the way I took it on was 3 times a day, every day. An alarm went off on my phone, and at the time I was using an app that allowed it to be random. So I could say 3 times between the hours of 9 and 7. And so it wouldn't go off like at lunchtime every day or at this time every day. It was random. It would just happen, right? There is one out there that still does that. It's called Remindfulness, all one word. But anyway, so I had this alarm go off 3 times a day, every day. And when it went off, this is what I would do. And play along with me. So right now in this moment, let's pretend your alarm went off. And the first thing you're going to do is just kind of stop what you're doing and just take a moment and take a breath and go within. You're going to dismiss your surroundings. You're going to dismiss any people or what's going on or anything else. And you're going to go inside of yourself. And you're going to pause and you're going to ask yourself, what emotion or emotions am I feeling right now? What am I feeling? What am I feeling? And I'm going to encourage you to branch out beyond mad, sad, glad. There are emotion wheels out there to help you with this, but let's start really checking in. Am I content? Am I elated? Am I disappointed? Am I rageful? What is the emotion that you are feeling right now? Name it, give it a name. Question 2, how do you know? Where do you feel it physically in your body? Oh, Nance, I feel my face getting hot and red. I have sweaty palms. I feel airy. I feel really light and open. I feel really heavy, but in that relaxed heaviness. I feel, like butterflies in my stomach. I feel a tingling in my head. What are the physiological sensations? Where in your body do you feel this emotion? Where is it? And what does it feel like? And then that's it. No judgment, There's no such thing as a good or bad emotion. There's no such thing as a good or bad sensation. No judgment. Just name for yourself. What's the emotion? Where do you feel it in your body? What is the sensation you feel? And then you go on with your day. And after you do this a while, it literally takes 3 to 8 seconds to do. You're going to do this 3 times a day, every day. And we're just going to run the experiment. And then I'm going to let you see what comes of it after you do this for a while. And let me tell you, this is not just for those of us that have grew up feeling like a victim or whatever. I mean, even the people with huge, huge confidence, this self-awareness gets us to this place of a starting point. So this exercise is for everyone, but especially if you want to feel a little bit more confident and in control of your life. As always, you let me know what you think of this. If you're interested in learning more about this or yourself, go ahead and reach out to me. I always give a free consultation to see if we're a match before we start working together. So if you'd like to work with me, go ahead and reach out, send me an email, leave a comment here, whatever is easiest for you to take that first step. And just know we'll have a free conversation, we'll chat about it, and we'll see if we're compatible and if we're a good fit for each other. And then if you're not interested in working one-on-one, I look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday.